Alright, so today one of our projects, we noticed what looks to be possible oil leak on the ATV. So we're going to go ahead and go through that and see if we can figure out what's going on. And we're going to bring you along with us when we do that. So here we go. Let's check into that. Okay, so we happen to notice it looked a little wet down in here. Now, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with these engines and machines, but down in here you can see it looks a little wet. I'll try to get down in under here a little bit more. There's a little better shot of it. Right up in here is where the oil filter is. And yeah, we just noticed it's quite oily. We did just change oil, so we're a little nervous that maybe the gasket didn't seal good. We're probably going to go ahead and wash this and then put it in the shop, and we'll go from there. So stay tuned, and we'll get the pressure washer out. Okay, before we wash this, those of you that are familiar with this type of machine, there's a cover over the air filter right here. And we're going to go ahead and take that off so that we can actually see what we're doing a little better and get in there to wash it a little bit better. Go ahead, it's got two bolts that have a 10mm head. Come out pretty easy. And then we'll get you another video of the oil leak, or what we think is an oil leak. Snaps out of that socket right there. There. Now, as you can see, it's a lot easier to see in there now, under the air box, and see what we're looking at. Alright, now we're going to go get the pressure washer. We'll be right back. Alright, so I just recalled the pressure washer is not actually here. We left it at another place when we were doing a job. So we're going to go ahead and just clean this off with brake clean. If you've used brake clean before, then you understand, but if you haven't, if you get it wet a little bit like that, let it set for a second and then come back. It really cleans everything right off for you. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have to start it up and let it run after this dries off and see if we see any evidence of a leak. Just to be clear, we've already checked all the fluids. They're all within the range. There's just a very little bit of oil residue, so we're not terribly worried about it, but we just want to be, proactive. Alright, so we've let it run for a couple minutes, and you can see, I think you can see anyways in the video, right in here and right up in here, you can see it's starting to get wet with oil. That's the actual oil filter cover right here. So we're going to go get a socket and make sure we actually remember to tighten it last time we changed the oil. And if we did, then we're probably going to have to go find a new O-ring for that, and replace that O-ring. So hold on a minute, we'll go get some tools. Okay, probably going to be a little hard to see me doing this, but we're going to go ahead and get in there and see if those will tighten up at all. And that one is tight as can be. That one is too. That one is too. So at this point, we're going to assume it needs a new O-ring. So we're going to go ahead and pull that cover off. We're going to do our best to video that. It's a pretty tight spot, so bear with us. See if we can find a spot where the light actually works to our advantage here. And I can still get by it for you guys. How about that right there? That seems like that might work. We have put a drain pan under this because we will get some oil out of this. As you see there, Okay, so this is the cover in question right here. We're going to go ahead and get this out of here and take a closer look at the O-ring. We'll be right back. Okay, so this is the O-ring that goes on this cover right here. So that O-ring goes on there just like that. We're not seeing any obvious nicks or cuts or anything in it. There was a little bit of grit in under it. I think what we're going to do, just because it doesn't really cost anything, is we've cleaned everything up. We're going to go ahead and put it back together, try it, and if that doesn't do it, we're going to run down to the dealership here and see if we can get a new O-ring. So 1 second here, we'll get geared up where you can see us, and we're going to put this back together and wash it off one more time and see if that solves the problem. Okay, and going back together is a little bit more interesting. It's not a bad spot to get at, but with a camera and a light in there too, it makes it a little bit more tricky. The bottom screw is just a regular bolt. And the next one is a regular bolt. And then the top one has this filter. Maybe not a filter, a breather, I guess you'd say, for the transmission. Transmission is sealed, and that thing that we just put up there is kind of like a balloon, and it expands and contracts based on the temperature of the transmission. That way it can't take on any water. Okay, we'll get the ratchet going here. All right, now we're going to wash that off. Start the machine back up. And we didn't lose enough oil that I'm worried about starting it to check it again. I will, of course, top it off, if this fixes the problem. So we're going to let that brake clean dry for a minute. I'm going to start it up and see what happens. So as you saw in the video there, we started it up and we didn't see any leaks. So we're going to assume that it was a little bit of that grit into that O-ring, causing it not to seal properly. Lesson learned, when you change oil in these things or anything like that, make sure everything's really clean. We will pick up a new O-ring next time we go down by the dealership and have it on hand for the next oil change. We'll probably change it anyways. I didn't really see anything in the manufacturer's recommendations about changing that O-ring, but that really can't be very expensive, so it's probably something we should do every other oil change or something like that. Thanks for watching, guys.